The cheapest ticket to watch a group stage game at the 2026 World Cup costs $200. That is the second-hand market floor. The face value floor, the number FIFA advertises, is $60. But the Attorneys General of New York and New Jersey documented that as of June 1st, 2026, not a single ticket at that price was available to the general public on FIFA's official platform. What replaced it was a pricing structure unlike anything football had ever seen. Dynamic pricing, the same model airlines use. The kind where the price changes while you're still looking at the screen. And for the first time in the tournament's history, FIFA was running the whole system itself. If that interests you, subscribe, because this channel covers what most people slept through. Part 1. What the World Cup actually is. The FIFA World Cup is the most watched sporting event on the planet. 5 billion people engaged with the 2022 tournament in Qatar. Not 5 billion Americans. 5 billion people across every continent, every time zone, every income bracket. That number is what makes the World Cup different from every other commercial property in sport. The Super Bowl delivers around 125 million US viewers. One country, one night. The World Cup delivers multiples of that figure across markets that don't overlap. It is, commercially speaking, the only event of its kind. For decades, FIFA treated that reach as the product itself. Tickets were priced to fill seats, not to maximize revenue from seats. In 2006, the World Cup generated $3.3 billion in total revenue. By the 2022 Qatar tournament, that figure had grown to $7 billion. Broadcasting rights were the engine. They accounted for 45% of all income in the 2019 to 2022 cycle. Matchday revenue, tickets, and hospitality was the support act. Qatar 2022 generated approximately $950 million from matchday receipts, about 13% of total income. The logic was simple. Cheap tickets meant full stadiums. Full stadiums meant atmosphere. Atmosphere was what broadcasters were paying billions of dollars to beam into living rooms around the world. A passionate crowd in the stands was, financially speaking, an input cost, not a revenue stream. That logic held for 60 years of World Cup football. In 2026, FIFA abandoned it. Part 2. The decision that changed everything. The decision was made before the first ball was kicked. When FIFA awarded the 2026 tournament to North America in 2018, the bid documentation listed a maximum ticket price for the final at $1,550. That figure appears on the record. It was part of the bid commitment. By the time FIFA opened its first ticket sales window in late 2025, the most expensive tickets for the final were listed at $6,730. By April 2026, the same category had risen to $10,990. That is a 609% increase from the committed maximum. In 7 years, FIFA's stated justification, on the record from its president Gianni Infantino, was that it was simply adapting to the American market. The logic he cited was the Super Bowl model. Infantino said it openly. I will say it is now in American. This is like 104 Super Bowls in 1 month. This was the first World Cup where FIFA took direct in-house control of ticket sales. In previous tournaments, hospitality and ticketing operations were outsourced to third parties. For 2026, FIFA insourced the entire operation, and with it, the ability to run dynamic pricing across all 104 matches. Dynamic pricing means prices rise with demand and fall when demand slows. In theory, it produces market efficiency. In practice, at an event where demand will always outstrip supply for the most desirable games, it functions as a mechanism to extract the maximum possible sum from every seat in every stadium. FIFA also built its own official resale marketplace. On that platform, FIFA takes a 15% commission from both buyer and seller on every transaction. It doesn't set the resale prices. but it controls the platform, and it takes a cut of every exchange. The Attorneys General of New York and New Jersey opened a formal investigation. Their documented finding, stated publicly, was that tickets had far exceeded the prices for any previous World Cup tournament, and alleged that FIFA was generating artificial scarcity and manipulating the dynamic pricing model to inflate prices. There have been tickets listed on FIFA's official resale platform for more than $2 million for a single football match. Part 3. What FIFA told the public. The public story FIFA told was one of accessibility. FIFA announced that $60 tickets would be available for every single one of the 104 matches. 50% of each national federation's allocation, it stated, would fall within what it called the most affordable range. That number, $60, became the headline. It was in press releases. It was repeated by FIFA officials in interviews. What the record shows is different. The number of $60 tickets available per game was, according to the Associated Press, likely in the hundreds, not thousands. The tickets were distributed through national federations, not the open market. For the general public attempting to buy a group stage ticket 60 days before the tournament, the average cheapest available price in Los Angeles was $1,040. In Dallas, where Argentina's Lionel Messi was scheduled to play, the average floor price was $1,028. FIFA's president also pointed to the Club World Cup, the smaller FIFA tournament held in the summer of 2025, as evidence that the dynamic pricing model worked. What he did not lead with was the documented outcome of that experiment. FIFA was forced to slash prices in response to low demand. 27 of the 64 matches played to below 50% of stadium capacity. For the 2026 World Cup, warning signs appeared early. Tickets for many group stage games did not sell out at face value. Resale prices began falling in the weeks leading up to the tournament. FIFA had also struggled to sell broadcast rights to two of its largest potential markets, China and India, because the North American time zones push most matches into the middle of the night for Asian audiences, collapsing the advertising revenue that would justify the rights fees. China offered $50 million for broadcast rights. FIFA had projected over $300 million from that market alone. None of this appeared prominently in FIFA's public communications. Part 4. The consequences. The financial consequences for FIFA have been positive. The 2026 tournament is projected to generate $8.9 billion in revenue, a 56% increase on Qatar 2022. Total matchday revenue from tickets and hospitality is forecast at $3 billion, compared to $950 million 4 years ago. That is a 216% increase in the single revenue stream, most directly driven by the pricing decisions documented above. For fans, the picture is different. The cost of attending a group stage match in the United States, including transport, accommodation, and the ticket itself, is, for most supporters of most countries, comparable to a significant portion of a monthly salary. For fans traveling from Africa, Asia, or South America, the regions where football's most passionate supporter bases live, the cost is prohibitive for the overwhelming majority. Studies on the economic behavior of premium-priced stadium crowds show a consistent pattern. Wealthier attendees are quieter. They are less emotionally engaged with the outcome. The atmosphere that FIFA's broadcasters pay billions to capture degrades in direct proportion to the price of the ticket. Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow put it plainly after attending a Super Bowl. He said it felt like a dinner party, and the players were the entertainment. That is the model FIFA has adopted. The investigation by New York and New Jersey's attorneys general, a formal legal probe, not a press inquiry, documented allegations of misleading advertising, artificial scarcity, and price manipulation. Multiple U.S. senators questioned FIFA's ticketing practices on the public record. The legal process was ongoing at the time of the tournament's opening match. Meanwhile, NJ Transit charged $150 per person for the round trip from Penn Station to MetLife Stadium on game days. A journey that normally costs $13. Under public pressure, the agency reduced the fee to $98. The stadium's parking lots listed at $400 per car. The beautiful game, in the most commercially sophisticated market on earth, was costing a family of four somewhere north of $2,500 before they sat down. Part 5. What it means today. The 2026 World Cup is not just a football tournament. It is a documented case study in what happens when a governing body that controls a global monopoly decides to monetize it to the maximum. FIFA is a not-for-profit organization by its own classification. It states publicly that more than 90% of the revenue it generates is reinvested into the game. What that framing does not address is the extraction that happens before the reinvestment, the transfer of wealth at scale from supporters in the seats to an organization with no democratic accountability to those supporters. This is the reason the ticket you couldn't afford cost what it cost. It is also the reason that the next World Cup will cost more. The documents show a target revised upward twice already, from $11 billion to $13 billion. The dynamic pricing model, once introduced, does not get removed. The legal probes at the state level in the U.S. are the only documented check on the process. Researchers who study the economics of live events have been consistent on this point. There is a threshold beyond which revenue maximization begins to damage the cultural value of the event itself. The World Cup is not perceived by its global audience as a luxury product. It carries national meaning. It carries community meaning. It carries the kind of meaning that cannot be bought back once it's been priced away. FIFA's own experiment at the Club World Cup showed what empty stadiums look like. 27 matches at below half capacity. The atmosphere that made the broadcast rights worth billions absent. The question on the record is simple. What happens to the product when the people who loved it most can no longer afford to be there? The files are documented. The numbers are public. Most people slept through this. You didn't. Subscribe, because there's more.